Now, we begin. And indeed, greetings unto you, beloved and holy friends. I come forth to abide with you in this hour and in this day and in this way, not in order to teach you, for there is nothing which can be taught that you do not already know. I come forth not as one who is above you, but as one who walks with you on the way that you have chosen. I come forth freely to communicate in this manner because I love you. And I come forth to abide with you because you are my Father's creation. You are Christ. You are that one birthed eternally since before time is. You are my brother and my sister. And when I come forth to abide with you, I know my Father. When I come forth to abide with you, I see the reflection of who I am. When I come forth to abide with you, I know that only love is real. Therefore, throughout eternity, and again since before time began, I am with you, even as you are with me. Though the journeys may seem many, in truth, there has been no journey. And you cannot journey to a reality from which you can never in truth be separated. Yes, you have heard it said that you create your own reality, but I say unto you, you can only create from your reality in the perfect freedom that the Father accorded to the Son in that moment, that mysterious moment, in which the Father chose to create that which is like unto himself, his only begotten Son, or offspring. You are that one, and you have been, therefore, a creator, ceaselessly, since that timeless moment. And even now, in this hour, you have chosen to create your experience. You have chosen to take what you call the body, which is really a temporary communication device. You've chosen to place it spatially at a certain location in order to attract to yourself a unique quality of experience. You are the one, even in this moment, who freely creates the perception through which you behold and experience this moment. In reality, I cannot heal your perception. In reality, I cannot persuade you to see things differently. In reality, I cannot awaken you, but I can, in my infinite freedom, choose to love you. Here then is the great secret of consciousness, here the great secret that so many would seek in so many magical ways. The world that you experience, the world of your experience, as with mine, is wholly uncaused by anything outside of yourself, and there is nothing outside of you. The freedom which is your existence, the unlimited freedom to create perception, to create period, that unbridled freedom, the essence and truth of all that you are, is unchanging forever. Therefore, in any moment of experience, cultivate the decision to not look for a cause outside of yourself, but merely ask, what have I chosen to see? What have I chosen to experience? And if you look with the eyes of the heart, it will not be hidden from you. And to look with the eyes of the heart requires only a simple honesty. What am I experiencing in this very moment? For this is the fruit of what I have chosen previously, what thoughts I have allowed to make a home in the mind, what perceptions I have attached a value to so that they carry with me like a filter through which I color what is entirely a neutral event, creation. All power under heaven and earth abides within you, each and every one of you equally. All power under heaven and earth through which you create your experience. Therefore, you are free at any moment to see yourself as one who is seeking God, or you are free to see yourself as one who has found God. The difference between the two is the difference between heaven and the world, between spirit and matter, if you will, between heaven and hell, between suffering and peace, between doubt and wisdom, between anxiety and a very subtle joy that never leaves. If I come forth to abide with you in this hour, it is only because I recognize you as my equal. And I come forth only, again, because I love you. And I love you because I have learned to make the choice consistently to teach only love. Once, when I walked upon your plane, your planet, as a man, I too was confronted with the very choices that you are confronted with. And though they come disguised in many ways, ultimately the choice is simple: love and fear. And as a man, temporarily, like you, identified with the perception of myself as a body-mind separate from all others, perhaps even separate from my Father, I too had to cultivate the decision to see differently, to choose what all of my teachers were telling me, what all of the scriptures that I studied were saying, that God and His creation are never separate one from another, that I was that light, that I was that creation, that I was the Christ. And a certain day arose, as it has already for many of you, and will arise for others of you. A day arose in which it suddenly occurred to me that rather than seeking magical means for closing the gap between myself and my Father, that perhaps I should do something outlandish, something so outrageous as to be almost sacrilege in every spiritual tradition in which I studied. And that one outlandish thing was to simply take God at God's word and to begin to live as though it were true that I was not separate from God. Now, you have to admit that's rather outlandish. So, I decided in that day and that hour As I sat beneath a certain tree on a certain small hill in what you call Galilee, and as I looked out upon the last rays of a setting sun, in the depth of my mind I made a decision. I will walk no more as a seeker for God, but I will give myself over to the reality that I and my Father are one. And then I'll see what happens. It is not true that I came to this planet fully awake, popped into a womb without the help of what you call the, shall we say, normal means. It is not true that I was sitting next to my father and he said, "Look, would you mind going down?" I said, "No problem." If I did not walk this planet as a man, if I did not feel all that you have felt, if I did not perceive what you have perceived, if I did not know judgment, if I did not know fear, if I did not know sadness, if I did not know lust, if I did not know the cold of the skin, if I did not know the doubt, the longing, the desire to search and to seek, then nothing I ever did and nothing I have ever said to you, whether then, whether since then, whether now, in the many multitude of forms in which I'm seeking to communicate to your humanity, none of it means anything and has no value unless I have been where you are. Does that make sense for you? Therefore, please do me a huge favor. If you are going to insist on having a picture or some icon of me upon your altar, please put a picture of yourself next to mine. Better yet, take mine down and put yours up. And recognize that the same truth that awakened me lives within you. It waits on your welcome. Your welcome to make the decision to never again tolerate the insane thought that you could be separate from God, and bring that truth and that commitment to each moment. Remember that truth and then live from that truth and see what your Father would have you do. It's really not too complicated. What you will discover after you hear the message a few thousand times is, teach only love. Same message, many forms, same content. Teach only love, for that is what you are. Teach only love, for that is what you are. Father, what should I do in this moment? Teach only love, for that is what you are. Should I go here or there? Listen to love, let love guide you. Be you therefore the presence of the truth that you are, and you are the light that lights this world. And you cannot help but be in the right place at the right moment. And if you would know your Father's will, open your eyes. Who are you with? Where are you? How can you bring love to the spaciousness and the sacredness of this holy encounter? And rest assured, whenever you meet anyone on this plane, in fact, we'll go a little further now and say, in any moment of relationship, whether it be with a blade of grass or as you gaze upon a star, every moment of relationship is a holy encounter. For your Father creates only that which reflects the good, the holy, and the beautiful. And through you, creation waits to be blessed, waits to be redeemed, waits to be saved, as you choose to perceive through only the eyes of love. And the decision to do so must necessarily correct the depth of the mind, heal the emotions, and yes, while the body lasts, even transform the way these tiny little cells that you call the body have been responding to you like a good servant. Love heals all things. Love embraces all things, trusts all things, transcends all things, transforms all things, and returns reality gently to where it has never left, the depth of your own being. Well, that's enough of all of that love stuff. I too, as a man, used to cry out to my father, but Father, it can't be that simple. I have this struggle with this person I know. They are what you would call this day and age pushing the buttons. What we call vexing the soul. And if only they would stop vexing, my soul would be just fine. Surely the cause is outside of myself. Surely there must be some magical means whereby I can protect myself from the psychic onslaught of those poor, unenlightened sinners who don't get it. Teach me the way, Father. And yes, I journeyed to a desert for 40 days and 40 nights. Actually, it was about 37 days and nights, but give or take a few. Struggling with what? Struggling only with an incorrect perception of who I am and where I am always. And as I began to live from that simple decision to accept my Father at His word, the events of my life began to be organized, not by me, but by the one that I have called the Comforter, the Holy Spirit. The voice for a perfect right-mindedness, a perfect sanity, the bridge between my personal consciousness and the mind of God. Just as your life begins to be reorganized, and many of you know what that sometimes feels like, as something beyond yourself, as you have known it, begins to reshape your destiny. And thank God, for if you follow your own, you'll walk off the edge of the universe and disappear into an abyss. But that which the Comforter is begins to organize the relationships, the meetings, the chance encounters, the books, the careers, the friends. And that which has been placed within you is slowly birthed right up through the soil of everything you had mistakenly created, which had been unlike love, which had been an attempt to keep yourself safe, which had been an attempt to hold on to a judgment, which had been an attempt to view creation other than the way it is, to see not the real world, but your replacement, your substitute for it. Right through that very soil, the Comforter begins to work within your mind and your heart to correct your perceptions, to bring exactly that perfect learning situation in which you can choose again for love. And each time you make that simple choice to listen only to that voice, You take what, if we might borrow words from your contemporary world, you take what is called a quantum jump, a quantum leap in the process of healing, in the process of birthing Christ. Each decision for love is more precious than all the gold and silver this planet could ever produce. It is worth more than all the adulation, all the successful careers, all the girlfriends and boyfriends that you could possibly ever amass. Each decision for love outweighs everything that has ever been birthed upon this plane. That's how powerful you are. That's the power that waits within you and waits upon your welcome. In this moment, though the body is shaking, in this moment, though the tears are flowing, in this moment, though I'm noticing fear of loss come up, I'm going to choose love anyway. And I will love the tears, and I'll love the shaking, and I'll love the fear, and I'll love the one before me, and I'll love the blade of grass upon which I may be standing, and I will love the lover of God within me that wants only to awaken. Love. It is the only power that exists in creation. And you, right where you are that one who can make the simple decision to bring love into your environment. You can be the channel, you can be the cup that overflows. You are the one that can make the simple decision to allow healing to occur. You are the one who walks upon this planet. You are the one that has what you call a body, which means you have a temporary device that everybody else on the planet can see. They often cannot see me because they look with the eyes of the physical body and not the eyes of the awakened heart. You are the one through whom love, given as the comforter, can guide your words, your gestures, your very being, so that love comes into this world and can touch the heart of another in ways that your thinking mind could never possibly understand or comprehend. For the mind was never designed to be your master. It was designed to be the servant of the awakened heart. And by heart here, I simply mean the depth of the mind that is deeper than conscious viewing, so to speak, deeper than your ideas and your perceptions. It is like the ocean from which all of the waves arise. I simply call it the heart to differentiate it from what you call the intellect or the thinking mind. That mind never knows what anyone needs. And when you are in silence, which simply means to withdraw your valuation of those ideas, when you choose to withdraw into the sanctuary of your heart, into the depth of your mind with a capital M, and remember the truth that is true always, that only love heals, then you can be inspired, and that mind can become a servant of the extension of love. And in that moment, there is literally no difference between you and the lifetime I lived that has gotten so much press. You are Christ incarnate. You are the Word made flesh. You are the only begotten of the Father. You are the Redeemer. Because you've chosen to be redeemed by choosing love. When you choose love over fear, it does not mean that you will not experience fear as a movement or wave of energy, just like a ripple on a lake caused by a pebble that was dropped into your consciousness. When you choose love over fear, it simply means that no matter what is going on within you or around you, you've chosen to value only the voice for love. And you begin to cultivate the ability to discern the voice for love amidst the roar and din of the world, which is the expression of fear. The world can exist within your mind, within your emotions, within the cellular structures of what looks like a solid mass called a body. The world can exist what seems to be around that body in other minds. But the world is always the symbol of the choice for fear. And in the midst of all of that, you can indeed cultivate the skill, the ability to hear ever more clearly the voice for love. And it begins by deciding to make the decision to hear it. Imagine that you are at what is called the symphony, and as you sit in your chair surrounded by hundreds of other beings in what are called the tuxedos and the gowns, you make a decision in the depth of your being to hear the note of the flute. And you begin to learn how to temporarily set aside the sound of the violin, the beating of the drum, the sound of what is called the oboe. You begin to cultivate the ability to discern the note of a solitary flute playing beautifully in the midst of the music, of the orchestration of that symphony. That is very much like all that you need do to cultivate the ability to hear the voice for love. But it does require a commitment. It does require that as you go through your day, though no one may know what you're doing, you are using time differently. You're choosing to use it constructively, and there is no greater use of time than to cultivate the ability to hear only the voice for love, to act only from its inspiration, to give up the voice of the world, whether it seems to be coming from around you or from within you. And actually, those are just terms that we have to use for your experience. There is no inner and outer. There is nothing outside of you. This means that when a brother or sister seems to be acting insanely, it is occurring within you. And you have the power to look upon that one and see them as yourself. To even transcend the perception of them as a brother or a sister, for that is still a language that is based on a perception that there's something outside of you. You can learn to look and see only yourself and make the decision whether you would bring love to yourself or fear. For as you treat your brother, you have treated yourself. And as you have looked upon your sister, you have looked upon yourself. And in fact, the reason you're seeing your brother or sister in a certain, shall we say, unloving light is because you have already first looked upon yourself in that manner. And you're merely experiencing the effect of that choice. Now I know that means that if you want to cultivate Christ consciousness, you're going to have to completely give up all hope of ever finding anyone or anything to blame. But I put so much time and energy into it. I've been looking everywhere, high and low, for lifetimes. And sometimes I'm quite convinced I truly did find someone or something to blame. And yet, beloved friends, consciousness is such a delightful game. Each time that you have withdrawn love from another for any reason, you have hurt only yourself. And you have ensured that you will sense a lack of love. Forgiveness releases the world from the perception that you have placed upon it. You cannot forgive the world for what it's really done, because it has done nothing. You cannot forgive your brother or sister for their act against you, for you can experience nothing that you have not called to yourself as a result of the judgment with which you have already held yourself. So the world would teach you that what you experience comes from outside. Something called accidents can occur. The world would teach you that you can be a victim of the world. The world will also teach you, don't worry, you're not to blame. And actually that's quite true, but from a different level. The world then, and everything the world teaches, is diametrically opposed to the truth of the kingdom. And where on earth is the kingdom? It's right here. It's wherever you are. And the truth, which is the kingdom, knows that nothing is outside, that consciousness is the creator, and that therefore in any moment, whether you are hearing the beautiful laughter of a newborn child, whether you feel the tiny feet of one that comes soon, touching and kicking the sides of the internal area of the woman's body, or whether or not it's what you call April 15th and you're watching your money go out in the mailbox, nothing has come into the field of your experience except that you have allowed it. Now that doesn't mean, and listen carefully, it doesn't mean that you sat down and made a blueprint and said that on April 19th, 1994, someone's going to run over my cat. That's not what that means. The event of someone running over the cat is a symbol. It is an expression of a certain vibrational quality of consciousness. You have already dropped a pebble in the pond of your own mind that resonates, sends out a ripple, so that what you've dropped in here shows up out here as a reflection, not to punish you. God is not someone who drops you on the planet, makes you suffer, and then when you die tells you why he did this to you. Wouldn't it be nice? Then you'd have somebody to blame. All events occur for one reason and only one reason, not to punish you, not to make what you call distress occur in the body, not to prove that the world is an evil place. Events occur in order to shock you, if necessary, into turning your attention toward the real world, toward the kingdom, to force you, if necessary, to learn to think differently, to learn to choose differently, to place value on different goals. Ultimately, the goal to awaken, the goal to heal. The events that occur in themselves have no effect on you. None whatsoever. Trust me, if they did, you would not be here now. You would have disappeared 45,000 years ago. But here you are. And the world has not been able to kill you, has it? Just as it failed once to get rid of me. The event, no matter what it is that you are experiencing, is the result, the outcome of how you have been choosing to think of yourself previously, and shows up to reflect to you what's really been going on, so that you have an opportunity to choose anew, and thereby learn what love is, how love heals, what experience is, what creation is, and what power dwells within you to co-create with God the good, the holy, and the beautiful. And that power is unlimited forever. Therefore, look not with judgment upon the experience you're having. If you notice the mind say, I feel so trapped, I feel so imprisoned, oh, if I just didn't have this dumb body. No. That's a judgment. And judgment only creates a certain vibration that must show up to reflect to you what you've been doing with the power of your mind. But learn to look lovingly. Learn to look with sacredness upon each and every moment. Learn to look that even with this thing you call the body, you can have a holy encounter. You can look upon the body in a mirror. You can look at your face in the mirror. You can touch what are called the hands of the body. You can touch the shoulders and the arms. You can touch the area of the heart. And you can realize that right here and right now, wherever you are the consciousness that can love this temporary creation. You can appreciate the incredible device it is through which you can call to yourself experiences in this certain domain of frequencies, all for the opportunity to choose differently than you did in the past, to choose love, to teach only love, to become so arrogant and outlandish that you make the same decision I did. I think I'll walk around as though what my father says to me is true. And when someone asks you what your birthday is, you can say, well, it's December 25th. When is yours? Actually, I was born in what you call August, but never mind. Now, you have literally the power to have a whole lot of fun with birthing Christ. The ego, which is the insane thought that you could be other than what God created you to be, has one chief characteristic: seriousness. Rest assured, any time that you are praying with great seriousness, you're not praying. And loving seriously is a contradiction in terms. So what would it be like if you made the decision to leave this place this evening having decided to play your way into the kingdom? To play your way into the kingdom. To be light, to laugh, to be outrageous, to have fun, to tweak the minds of others. Imagine walking into one of your stores and giving them the $5 bill for the gallon of milk and whatever else you've bought, and they give you a penny back because that's the way it goes these days. And you take the penny and you look at the clerk, you put your finger in your little cheek, go, what a good Christ am I. And walk away. And then you come back in and say, and by the way, what a good Christ are you? Rest assured, that clerk will never forget you. And I want to share something that is very, very sacred and very true. It is not serious, however, though it is sincere. And listen carefully. Whenever two minds have chosen to join in love, never will those two minds ever be separate one from another again. That is, the dream of separation will never drop a veil between them. And Christ longs to be joined with itself, showing up as every being. Therefore, when you choose, and please listen carefully, when you choose to begin to teach only love as the arisen Christ, it doesn't mean you get an operation manual that tells you what to do, by the way. It just means you begin by deciding that that's what's true. And then the Holy Spirit fills in the gaps. When you've made that decision to look upon the clerk in the store or your spouse or your child or a friend or someone who just suddenly, mysteriously pops into your mind in your prayer, when you decide to look with love upon that one and allow yourself to see that Christ dwells in them, you are linked to that being eternally. And as you awaken, students are sent to you. And each of you has a multitude of beings waiting in the waiting room for you to decide to get on with who you really are. Most of them you haven't met yet, and the majority of them you will never meet in physical form. But because all minds are joined, and what is mind but a point of divine light, a point of consciousness, a point of intelligence? Doesn't matter what dimension they're in. Everything exists in a space which is no greater than the head of a pin anyway. And in fact, it exists in a space which is the measurement of the width of a thought. And if you can figure out what that is, please let me know. It means that even within this dream that occurred with the thinking of one insane idea, you are linked in relationship with all beings. And as you choose to heal, every decision to heal, every decision to extend only love, uplifts the whole of creation. And as Christ is rebirthed in your remembrance, because it's already there, all of those beings with whom you've ever extended or exchanged love immediately get it. And they start showing up in the most outlandish ways. Many of you know what I'm talking about. Suddenly you meet someone and you know you've known them forever. And there is an immediate teaching-learning relationship that is established, and you didn't have to do a thing. Didn't have to hire an advertising promotional person to get you known. They show up. Every time you make a decision for love and thereby allow the memory of Christ to come more and more into your mind, into your consciousness, into your beingness, you send a message to everyone waiting in the waiting room that has a connection with you, and they know class is starting. And as they awaken because you are awakening, those that have been assigned to them in those waiting rooms, so to speak, begin to get the message. And then the bottom line is there's a huge network of relationship that exists within a temporary dream that never occurred, that's happening in a space no greater than the width of a thought, in which the Holy Son of God is remembering and awakening. And here we are. I am part of that. I am not outside of it. As I chose to awaken, those assigned to me began to show up. I didn't run an ad in the paper that said, looking for disciples. Long hours, bad pay. Must be able to handle projection. They just showed up, and while I was in the body, I was guided, just as you have often been guided. Turn left. Why am I doing that? And you end up having a chance encounter of the fourth kind. The connection of the heart, and of holiness, and of healing, and of sacredness, and of divinity, and of Christ. And love touches love, and love is remembered. You've all had those moments. And when I chose to allow circumstances to shape an event known as the crucifixion as my final learning lesson, that I held the power within myself to teach only love no matter what the circumstances are, and dissolved even the need or valuation for this kind of particular learning device, I became freed to reach across time and space, if you will, to begin to extend and teach only love to many beings. And many of you here in this hour have known what you call incarnations. In which you became aware of me. It's one good thing what you call Christianity did. At least it gave me an avenue to get to know you. I didn't create it, but I can use it. Many of you, and you know in your heart that you know perfectly well this one who was known as Jeshua ben Joseph, translated as Jesus. Many of you know that you have known me somewhere in an ancient past. Many of you have very clear remembrances. Many of you simply feel a vibration that suddenly went wham in your heart, and you knew you were supposed to be here. You answered the call. For my intention as a brother and as a friend, one who has chosen to assume responsibility for the atonement, is to call my friends to myself, to send out the invitation, to find the ways to reawaken the connection and the resonance that transcends all boundaries between my heart and those that I love, and those whom my Father has sent unto me. Not that I can save them, but that I can love them and give them my strength until theirs is as certain as mine. And that's when the dance begins. That's when the dance of joyous co-creation between friends occurs, between you and me. You who seems temporarily and for a very short non-time to have a body, this tremendous communication device, through which, in space and time, you get to be the embodiment of love to the degree that you want to. And nobody can tell you you can't. Between you and me, who seems not to have a body, but is closer to you than your own breath, who knows you, who loves you, who longs to dance and play with you in the extension of the good, the holy, and the beautiful, that which sends a signal out into the world and begins to touch other minds and hearts. It can be as simple as telling someone you love them. It could be creating what you call a group of people to study a course in miracles, which is really just a course in oneself. It seems to be different. Well, there's a book. We're studying this, of course. Of course, those of you that study it know the more you study it, the closer to this you get. And you realize you've really just been studying yourself. And you are the book. It could be so outrageous that you allow the mind of God to drop like tiny seeds, grand visions for a healed planet. In truth, there is no difference between the tiny, quiet, unnoticed act of telling someone that you love them and you see Christ in them, and the grandest of visions that the Holy Spirit has ever dropped into any mind. Love is always equal, and each expression of it holds an equal value. The tiniest extension of love moves mountains because it heals fear. Never let that little chattering monkey called the ego say, "But you're not doing enough, but you're not doing enough, but you're not doing enough, but you're not doing enough." Broken record, broken record, broken record. It is enough to love. It is enough now in this moment to take the hand of the one sitting next to you and hold the thought, I sit next to Christ and I love them. That's enough, because love heals. Love, precious love heals all worlds. And if you ever stand alone or sit alone beneath a tree on an early morning in which the first rays of light are beginning to caress this precious earth of yours, in which mystery, untold mystery, is all around you, you can never figure out how it got there. If you ever sit quietly where no one knows you're there, and the heart opens, and you think a loving thought of someone you've known, and you take the time, that one moment, and use it constructively to bless that being. Inasmuch as you have done it unto them, you have done it unto the whole of creation as deeply and as powerfully as anything that I ever did. And more than that, you've done it as powerfully as a lot of things that were ascribed to me that I never did. If you receive nothing else in our time together this evening, please receive this. There is no such thing as a small act of love. To hold a newborn child in your arms and set aside the perception of yourself and them as being two separate beings, as you hold that child and decide that Christ is in your arms and that therefore you're in perfect communication, to hold one quiet thought, beloved child, it's okay now to remember who you are. There will no longer be persecution and crucifixion in the world as Christ is birthed. That tiny little act is the greatest act that can ever occur. You have remembered love. You have reclined in the truth of who you are. You have recognized it in the one in front of you, and you have blessed the world through your loving communication. And no greater love hath anyone than that one that lays down their life for a friend. Now, I know perfectly well that that's made a few people shudder because they thought that meant they had to die. Think about it. Your life is your egoic state of being, the thing you think you possess, that is separate and different from everything else, the thing you've got to keep going no matter what. When you lay that life down, your reality abides where once there was an insane thought. Christ lives. You have laid down your life for a friend, and a friend is one who looks upon another and chooses to see only Christ and commits themselves to holding that perception of them until they can hold it for themselves. That is what a friend is. So no greater love hath anybody than those who would lay down their life for a friend. Does that make sense for you? So, when next your UPS driver comes with a package to your door, look him in the eye and say, I'm going to lay down my life for you today. Have a nice day. Thank you for the package. And in that moment, you've become eternally linked to that being. They might show up in your dreams, in your prayer and meditation. You will be linked to them in what you call forever, until that being also chooses to awaken and allows their experience to be reshaped by the one sent of the Father who knows exactly what you need, as learning lessons that come and go. They're all temporary, so that you can discover the power of choosing only the voice for love. And as you grow in Christ, you will outshine the body. You will outshine this entire dimension, and you will feel that you are bigger than this whole, what you call your physical universe. Because your love, the remembrance of that love, will need that much space. As you awaken to the discovery that there is nothing outside of you, you will know why I could make a decision to accept responsibility for the atonement. What other choice would I have once I recognized that there was nothing outside of me, and that all power under heaven and earth was available for me to teach only love, to find ways to create communication devices that bring the universal curriculum of reality to each and every temporarily fragmented aspect of myself. What I do through this, my beloved brother, through all of you, what I've done through what you call A Course in Miracles and many other teaching devices, is, you see, quite selfish of me. I want me, who is you, to be awake. So let no one tell you that I sacrifice, for in love there is no sacrifice. Please do not look upon me as some great Savior who, boy, Christ, amazing love He has, that He would just devote Himself ceaselessly to helping poor little me. Please understand, I'm just helping myself. Because you are myself. You are myself. And as I am one with you, you are one with me. And I'm not about to go anywhere until you remember that you are Christ and that only love is real. There will be a day and an hour in which the atonement is completed, even on earth as it is in heaven, so to speak. And in that moment, temporarily, everything will be transformed. And no one will walk upon this planet with a single fearful thought. And no mind upon this plane will entertain the thought that it is separate from another. And Christ will gaze upon only Christ. And then the purpose of this world will have been translated, transformed, and completed. And the oceans, and the land, the trees, and the flowers that have come as angels to remind you of the truth, the sparkling rays of light that create what you call the crimson sunset, all of these angels will disappear. The world will disappear just like it once began, as the result of a thought, the outcome of a perception. And when only the real world is chosen as a perception in all minds, this world will cease to be, but creation will go on eternally. For the Father does not create that which ends. Do not think that in that day and hour you're going to disappear into an amorphous blob of consciousness. For here is the great delight of God, to create that which is like unto herself. I hope that's okay. And you are that one. Never think that individuation means separation, but imagine existence as consciousness in which you have a sense of your individuation with no trace or sense of separation from anything. No brother or sister. Relationship is the means of your salvation, And the final step of your salvation is ongoing celebration and extension of the good, the holy, and the beautiful. So please do not pray to be dissolved in light. You already are light. Pray only that you will release any obstruction to extending light. And you might want to add that you'd like to have fun doing it. Please remember that your Creator is the simplest of beings. Your Creator says yes to everything. Every thought you hold receives an automatic, yes, it's okay. Have a nice time. And please again remember that you will not leave this plane and do what is called death, only to sit in the lap of God and have Him explain for you why He did all these terrible things to you. He'll merely welcome you home and say, yes, yes, I love you. What would you like to do today? And as you lay there, you might say, I think I'll create another universe and go get lost again. Now, please, I know that all that I've shared with you so far in this hour is not quite what the world has taught you that I taught. Not quite. But I can only teach you what you already know. And there is no one in this room who is not experienced in this hour hearing words which are merely symbols of symbols pointing at reality, and had at least once in this hour felt a uh-huh. Now, if you recognize the truth, the content within the form of the words that have been chosen carefully in this hour, and have recognized the truth of that content somewhere deep within your being, it can only be because the truth is already inside of you. Truth can only be recognized by truth. Love can only be known by love. As you have your saying in the world, it takes one to know one. And so we would complete this short message, and then we'll continue on with this simple thought. Whatever the means or mechanism through which you believe you have come to discover me, whether through what is called the Bible, whether through A Course in Miracles or any number of the other forms of the universal curriculum, whether you have come to know me as I've appeared to you in your dreams, as I have caused energy, a little what you call zapping in the heart to get your attention, through whatever means you have come into relationship with me as my equal and as my brother or sister, please remember that if you see a trace of the love and reality of Christ in me, it is only because you have looked through the eyes of Christ at me. It does take the one to know the one. And this is true for anyone in relationship with me. Whether they be what you call a pauper in South America, holding the rosary, who thinks on me and knows that Christ dwells in fullness within me. That one is seeing through the eyes of Christ. They may not quite know that yet, but they will. You are the one who sees Christ in another. That takes unlimited power and perfect freedom to see with the eyes of reality and not with the eyes of the world. And the one being that many of you have failed to appreciate the deepest is yourself. Self-love is absolutely essential if you would heal and awaken every obstacle or trace of anything unlike love. You cannot love your brother while hating yourself. But by loving yourself, your cup overflows. Therefore, as you would embrace another, include yourself in the circle. As you would give service unto another, include yourself as one worthy of being served by your love. As you would teach another, teach first yourself. As you would long to heal another, long equally that you be healed. For the only thing a teacher of God, and that is what you are, you didn't even know you signed up. The only thing as a teacher of God that you need to do is to accept the atonement for yourself. I am that light. I am that truth. I am that one. I love that which I am, for I am my Father's creation, and my Father creates only the good, the holy, and the beautiful. How deeply are you willing to cultivate the ability to receive that truth? For the depth will determine the fruit which springs forth thereof. I love you. Your mother loves you. Your father loves you. And everyone to whom you've given a smile loves you. And everyone who has come to you in your relationships and you've looked past their mistakes loves you. You have been their Redeemer. Isn't it about time you extended the same courtesy to yourself? So, with that, I want to suggest that you, it's an interesting word, your language is so peculiar. I'm going to take a break. I don't understand this. Where will you get it to take it from? And when you break it, what will you do with it? Strange language. But it is a reflection, is it not, of how insane the world has gotten. So we make do with what we have. Take what you call a break. But as you do so, as you begin to raise the body from the chairs, if you do so in love, you've just raised the dead. Notice as you, another good word, mill about, notice whether you have a tendency to avoid eye contact with another, whether the body gets a little tense. Decide otherwise and let the eyes linger for at least a moment or two. Let yourself relax and deliberately choose to see Christ in front of you and see how you feel. And enjoy it. When we return, if you wish to return, we will spend some time with what you call the questions and answers so that we can all entertain ourselves. That's when we pretend that you don't know the answers. And we will come back and abide together. It is a great joy to communicate with you in this way. When I left this plane, I did not leave with a hatred of the body or the earth, only with the transcendence of the world. Therefore, this medium of communication with you is delightful for me as well. And I cherish the opportunity to be with you, for you are my love. Therefore, enjoy your break, and we will come back together. I suppose when something is broken, it's good to put it back together. So. Be you therefore at peace and know how much you are loved, how much light fills you, and how much there is within you waiting to be given to this world. Be you therefore at peace, beloved friends. Amen.
Well, this is a question that's bothered me ever since I read this statement in the Course. And every time the expression consciousness was used tonight, I still had that same questioning. The statement in the Course that concerns me is where it says, consciousness is an ego function. And yet it seems to me that we talk all the time about a God consciousness and a Christ consciousness. And so if we're talking about a God consciousness and a Christ consciousness, I can't somehow reconcile that statement in the Course, that consciousness is an ego function.
Beloved friend, that simply makes God the ultimate ego trip. First, reconciliation between forms of the universal curriculum is not always possible. For reconciliation would require that each form of the universal curriculum use the same terminology and use terminology in the same way. Remember always that words are symbols of symbols, and therefore are twice removed from reality. Words are symbols of ideas. Words can be used and must be used in this dimension to direct the mind toward ideas which more clearly reflect reality. But ideas themselves are not reality. Therefore, place value on the reality toward which ideas and words about ideas would direct you. Love, for example, is a word. It is a symbol of an idea which is a reflection of a reality which is beyond form. For reality is content. If you struggle to reconcile the form of a universal curriculum, which I did in fact help to give, called A Course in Miracles, with terminology that may be utilized here or elsewhere, you will actually cause yourself to waste time. Time which could be better spent in that which love is a symbol of, by being the presence of that which extends the good, the holy, and the beautiful. If it were not necessary to present the universal curriculum in a multitude of forms, there would have only been one text ever written, and it would have occurred several thousands and thousands of years ago, and no other form of teaching would have ever arisen. But in the fragmentation of the one into the many, levels of consciousness are created. Each mind can be reached through certain vibrations, which are words, which represent ideas, and each mind has a certain language which is all its own. Therefore, the wise teacher learns to speak the language of the student in order to convey or to communicate the truth. When A Course in Miracles was given, it was given in the context of the students. Therefore, the universal curriculum and its content was structured into a form that could best serve the needs of the students. And those that have resonated deeply with A Course in Miracles and gained great insight and healing from it are merely those who are in close resonance with the minds of the students who first received it. Likewise, I do not choose my channels wrongly, nor do I err at the structure of language that is used through them. And why? Because although I participated in the creation of A Course in Miracles as a teaching device, I am well aware that not everyone will receive that form, and because my desire is to join with my brothers and sisters, I seek out modalities of communication that allow me to reach out to more minds. Consciousness is a function of the ego. Within the context of A Course in Miracles, this is perfectly consistent. Consciousness is a word which is related to an idea that reflects something about reality. Again, beloved friend, whether it be with the Course or any other form of the curriculum, do not place as much emphasis on the form, but rather on the content to which it would direct you. The purpose of A Course in Miracles is to leave you in the hands of your internal teacher, your union with the Holy Spirit. In this sense, then, your curriculum begins where the teaching device of the Course leaves you. It is not designed to answer every question a teacher of God will have, for only your internal teacher can do so. No form of the curriculum could ever hope to be conclusive enough to satisfy and answer every question, for this would place the source of your guidance outside of you. Therefore, simply relax the struggle to reconcile terminology, but rather learn to feel, as you do very well, the content toward which it directs you. And then live from that reality. And the Holy Spirit will guide you in the use of what terminology can convey the truth to a brother or to a sister. Does that help you in regard to that question?
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
May I ask a question?
Absolutely not.
Yeah, thank you. This isn't a question. Thank you for being here and somehow contacting me and sort of getting me here.
It took quite a lot of doing.
I wouldn't be surprised if that were true. I've got sort of what to me is kind of a central question, and I'm not sure exactly how to phrase it. I guess my question is, why all this pain? I mean, why I have heard the stories of the separation, and even that the separation is a positive creative act, an expression of our creativity to imagine ourselves as alone, and all that. But still, there's the idea that, well, geez, if we can even conceive of the idea of asking a question about pain, how does that reconcile with an all-loving God? I know it's kind of this question sounds simpler the way I'm putting it than the way I've thought about it, but maybe maybe you can answer it anyhow. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I remembered how I wanted to ask it. It's to what good how does this serve God? For what sake is it to Him that we've imagined all this? I mean, that we've gone through all this illusion. And if there's no sake, then what the hell's going on?
Beloved friend, the answer to the question, what does all of this pain do for God, what's it all about, is this: it does absolutely nothing for God. And He did not create it. God's creation is you. Not you as you know yourself or think yourself to be a particular body-mind who has unique forms of experience that are perceived and judged as painful or as sufferable. This world is not God's creation. You are. And the you that is you is spirit, infinite, unbounded freedom to create and experience. That is God's only creation, you. This world, and please listen carefully, holds no value or purpose except that which the Comforter, the Holy Spirit, the bridge back to God, can bring to it. Illusion can have no meaning until love translates it into that which can serve the awakening of God's creation, you, which is really just an act of turning your attention from perceptions and ideas and beliefs that are untrue, toward the decision to accept the truth that is true always, and to begin to use the power of the mind, the power of your being, to extend from yourself only the good, the holy, and the beautiful. A thought of self-judgment is like a disturbance in an infinite field of possibilities that creates a distortion. It twists the extension of energy. You experience the outcome of it. You are free to use time constructively, not to wonder why things are as they seem to be, but to discover how they can be created differently. For instance, it makes not very good use of time to ask why the ego. Rather ask, how can I utilize time differently so that only love is extended to me and only love is allowed to settle into the field of my being, into my mind, that I accept nothing but love. Imagine, by way of a picture, if you were a field of energy and your real boundary was about here, all around the body. Actually, it's much, much, much bigger than that. What if you decided that anything that comes to touch the entrance to your energy field, which is unlike love, doesn't get to come in? And only love can come. And also only love can be extended out. Gradually, the whole nature of your experience would be transformed. This process of transforming the mind, renewing the mind, begins with one decision. I have no idea what's going on here. I don't know where it all came from, but I'm going to assume complete responsibility for how I choose to use my mind. To be vigilant about what thoughts you choose to think. To will yourself, in a sense, to direct the mind toward only loving thoughts. To cultivate it on a daily basis, and to trust that the universe is going to show up in a way that's certainly going to challenge you to do what you say you are committed to. Here, beloved friend, is the certainty of the end of all pain. For when the mind wants only love, it will see nothing else. And it will see beyond all boundaries that seem to separate this dimension from another, which seem to separate you from the ones that you love. All feelings of loss will disappear, and you will know that only love is real. You will literally embrace in your, pardon the use of the language, consciousness, in your awareness, in your beingness, you will embrace the infinity of dimensions of creation that are even now present. You will know that there is nothing outside of you, and you will know that only love is real. Pain will no longer be a possibility in the field of your awareness. But that does not come by the act of someone else doing something to you. It comes from assuming responsibility for no other reason than this. It's the only way to change it. Again, spending time wondering why it is or how it got here is a waste of time. It will merely keep you sitting in the same spot of consciousness. Rather, decide what it is you want. You could say that the greatest of questions that you could ever ask yourself is this: what do I truly want? And know that it's perfectly okay to have what you want. You will come to want only love, for nothing else can satisfy the soul. And when love is thoroughly established, you will see and experience nothing else. And paradoxically, that state of awareness is possible right here and now. It's not that you have to leave this world and go somewhere else to get it. It is essential to get it here. For the body is not what you think it is. The world is not what you've been taught to think it is. There is something else present right here that can be perceived and known. It's called the real world, in which pain no longer exists. The body arises, it passes away, events occur, and yet awareness is never pained by any of it. It is too busy being the presence of love. And that is what must be cultivated. That is what requires utmost responsibility and commitment and self-love. To go through the day asking only, how am I choosing to use this moment? To love myself, to allow healing to occur, to look into the eyes of another and bless them with the presence of Christ, or to convince myself that there's something amiss. Consciousness is everything, and out of it, immediately, you create what you call reality. And you will discover, beloved friend, the power and the majesty within you as you come to see that by changing a thought, you change your world. Within you is the power to awaken to love, to act only from love, to see only love, to feel only love, to be the embodiment and the presence of only love. And then you will one day look back upon an old memory of something you once called pain, and you will chuckle within yourself and say, wow, I am pretty amazing. Once upon a time, I convinced myself that something besides love was real. The journey from there to there is a journey without distance to a perfect remembrance of what has never changed. Call it the spiritual journey, if you will. Call it the journey of mastery. It goes by many names. It is a journey that everyone must undertake sooner or later. You can delay it, but the journey will be taken. Why not begin now? By simply deciding not to waste the power of consciousness looking for answers to questions that in themselves change nothing, but ask only, what do I truly want? And if it is an end of pain, then turn it into the positive by saying, I want only love. And I choose to be as a wise farmer who cultivates the garden of my own awareness so that only the seeds of love are planted. And what is planted in good season will indeed bear forth great fruit. Plant the seeds, beloved friend, of only loving thoughts, and it will come to pass that you will reap the harvest. That was a very, very important question to ask, not just for you. So thank you.
Thank you for your answer.
What is the link between the answer that you gave and social problems or planetary problems like overpopulation or the spoiling of the planet's resources? What I heard you say brings personal peace, but what happens to the physical world that we're in?
Beloved friend, as you make the decision for personal peace, remember that you are indeed joined to all expressions of creation. You are inseparably linked to what you call your planet, your beloved Earth. Now, imagine that your awareness is like an ocean or a pond. When you drop a pebble into it, it creates a ripple. When you drop the pebble of the choice for peace into the pebble of your C word, consciousness, you send a ripple out. Now, if you create a sound through what is called a megaphone, and the pebble is dropped once, that is, you sing a certain note, it creates a ripple, a sound effect, that goes out and has so much power, and then it finally seems to drift away. But if you keep singing the same note over and over, a momentum or a wave is created, and that ripple, that sound effect, goes farther and farther and farther and more powerfully. That ripple touches everything in creation. Currently, as you look out through your eyes and look out upon the world, you see an interesting mixture of beauty and insanity, of love and fear. You're literally watching an Armageddon being manifested through human consciousness. When I walked upon this planet of yours, it was not easy to awaken. Why? Because most minds were sending out ripples of fear. It created a density that was much more difficult to get through. But the quickening that has occurred on your planet from the time that I was a man until the time that you exist has been quite phenomenal. Today, there are minds that are awakening daily. And I don't just mean getting a little insight. I mean awakening. That creates an acceleration in the way that the new ripple, if you will, the reality ripple, is being sent out through this ocean you call creation. Yes, currently there are children who will starve to death by the time this evening is done because the world mind believes not only that there's no way to do anything, but that nobody's responsible. Nobody wants to take it on. There are toxins being dumped into rivers and oceans. Absolutely true. These things are the reflection of the toxicity that has been settling in the past into many human minds, since the world is a reflection of what awareness or consciousness has allowed itself to value. The connection between your personal peace, your decision to be the embodiment of love, and what is occurring in what appears to be outside of you cannot be possibly overstated. It is crucial because there is nothing outside of you. As you choose, regardless of what you see around you, to be the embodiment of peace, to practice forgiveness, to look lovingly and to find the essence, the sanity, the Christ mind in everyone, regardless of what they seem to be doing, you are sending out a ripple that touches that mind. And because there are many, many, many beings awakening daily now, there will be a point at what I believe your scientists call a critical mass. How about a loving mass? That's much better. A loving mass will be reached, and please listen carefully. There will be a transition that occurs that affects literally, it will be seen, in other words, in the waters, in the air, in your forests, in the lives of your children, and it will occur in the twinkling of an eye. Because that's how experience happens. Ripples are sent out. When the momentum is enough, bam, experience takes place. The wave that is now occurring on your planet is growing by leaps and bounds. It can no longer be slowed, and it cannot be prevented. Your political parties are going to go into obsolescence. And there will be a day on this planet when those who have been given the power and the responsibility to direct the large guns and bombs will look upon their creations and simply withdraw their value from them. They may have never picked up a course in miracles. They may have never, what you call this, standing on the head. They will awaken because a loving mass has chosen to awaken previously. And just like that, it will occur within them. And they will look upon their creations and realize, this is not what I want. And war will cease. Because the consciousness, the awareness that is shared by the one mind, will have become wholly committed to a different thought. A thought held in unity. A thought that desires only the reflection of the extension of love. But it's not what you call pie in the sky. It is the natural outcome of the correction of how the mind is used. Your decision for personal peace is critical. Therefore, when you look upon what you call the logger who has just cut down what you call the old growth tree, love the tree for the beauty it brought. Find the essence of the one who is called the logger and love that one. That is what is critical. And when one performs an insane act on this planet, remember that it is only a cry for help and healing. No act which has been an unloving act has ever been done from a loving place. It has been done because the soul of that one simply sees no other way to cry out for the attention required so that healing can begin. Somebody must make the decision for love. Fortunately, this room is filled with a multitude who understand that, and that definitely includes you. Therefore, beloved friend, please cultivate your personal peace even as you act lovingly in the world. You will know where to be, what causes to be a part of, what action to take. But see it not as a fight against something, for that only ensures that the opponent will always remain. See it as an opportunity to teach only love, and thereby learn that only love is real. And the ripples that you create, you cannot begin to comprehend the effects of them. Give everything to the creation of those ripples within the field of your personal peace. The earth is an entity just like you. It is a consciousness and awareness filled with love. Nothing that mankind could ever do could possibly destroy the life of this earth. That is like a tiny little fly thinking that it has the power to destroy the horse upon whom it's riding. It is only because the horse has tolerance and love for the fly that the fly gets to be there in the first place. This earth is a great and loving being who knows exactly what to do to maintain itself. Its compassion is great. And the waters of the earth will run purely, and the skies will be clean, and no child will starve. That wave of probability cannot be stopped now. The dream of separation is playing itself out. Simply focus on love, and thereby take up your rightful place as part of the solution instead of part of the problem. You're doing rather well too, beloved friend. Simply continue to know that you are worthy of peace. Does that help you in that regard?
Yes, thank you.
Hi.
Hello.
I have a question.
Long time no see.
Yeah. I have a question about my body, which I've read in the Essene Gospel of Peace that we
all lies, don't believe it. Just kidding.
That we need to purify our bodies and keep our blood clean. And then I read in the Course in Miracles that the body's not real and that the mind creates the discomfort in it. And a lot of drama that I've had in my life has been around illness in my body. And I'm a bit confused as to how to heal what I'm experiencing right now, which has just been chronic for years. And if it's not one thing, it's another. And then if that goes away, it's another.
Beloved friend, what is the manifestation of dis-ease keeping you from?
Peace and joy.
As I said a few moments ago, when you want only love, you will see nothing else, even in the body. Therefore look well, beloved friend, for beneath the surface of your awareness, there is a conflict within the soul about its very worthiness to have peace and joy. There is a struggle within the soul, Armageddon, between the part that would want it and the part that seems to have its grip on you, that says, no, you have not yet proven yourself worthy. You have erred in the past, and therefore carry a certain guilt. That guilt keeps you from allowing the peace and joy to enter into the field of your being, and thereby bring about the correction of the body that you would desire. There is a pattern in the mind that keeps the energy or the vibration of dis-ease in your consciousness. Healing will occur when you have withdrawn all valuation you have placed upon dis-ease. And as long as you perceive that there is something within you that justifies a sense of guilt, a sense of failure, you will keep valuing dis-ease as a way to reflect back to you the truth of your guilt. This guilt is deeply embedded. I don't mean by that to frighten you, saying it's underneath 40 tons of concrete. It just means that it's old and has been pushed down. There is a feeling that comes up for you from time to time. You feel it generally right about in this area of the body. It is a very old sadness. Give yourself permission when next it comes to set aside everything and give yourself permission to abide with and feel that sadness. It's called embracing it. It's a feeling in your world because you have a body. That is to embrace what is unlike love within you. And by so doing, that guilt will begin to dissolve as a weight within your field of energy or field of being or awareness. Dis-ease has served you in the sense that it has kept in place the deeply held belief that your guilt is justified. As you come then to the decision to love yourself, to truly understand that you have never sinned and you have never failed anyone at any time, that you indeed remain wholly loved, wholly loving, and wholly lovable. The guilt will be dissolved from the mind, and the body will begin to reflect the change that has occurred. And listen carefully to those three words. You are loved, you are loving, and you are lovable. As you go to your home this evening, say those words over in your mind and discover the one that is the hardest to accept. And there is your doorway to the guilt. One of those words is a symbol of an idea of something which is very real that is difficult for you to truly accept into your being. There, beloved friend, is a very important doorway for you. And as you choose to discover it, and please listen carefully, I will come and abide with you. We will go through that doorway together, and that which is the guilt held as an ancient sadness in the depth of the soul will come to be wholly dissolved from within your being. I am your friend, and I will walk with you because I love you, and I recognize your lovability. Therefore look well and simply decide. You don't have to know how to do it yet. Just make the decision that it is time to heal an ancient sadness that has birthed the residue of guilt, from which disease is merely the reflection that the guilt is justified. Indeed, it is time to heal. And something within you knows this now, or you would never have come to this place in this evening. Well does a part of you know that you know me and I know you. Accept what you feel in the depth of your being. You have known me before, you will know me again. And I am your friend. And it is time to heal, so that it's no longer one thing after another, but just one thing. Indeed. I love you. I love you. I feel it would be important here to let you know that once you invite me in, I am like the guest who comes and does not leave. But I'm not such a bad guy. And I will never demand anything of you save the opportunity for you to release the grip deep in the heart so that I can enjoy loving you. For only love heals. Blessings. My blessings I give to my ancient sister. Be you therefore at peace, and I will be knocking. Fair enough?
Thank you.
Beloved friend, thank you for the courage to come here this evening and in front of all these other minds admit the truth that you are tired of the weight of an ancient guilt and sadness. That ensures that healing occurs. You are a courageous one. You do not yet know the depth of your courage, but you will. So, I'll be seeing you. Indeed. By the way, I do look forward to the day when all questions have been answered. Not because they're a burden, but when you realize that all your doubts have been solved and all questions have been answered, it simply means that you'll know that you're Christ, and that the dream you've chosen to dream no longer holds any value. And then we can, what is your term here? Then we can truly begin to rock and roll. Rock and roll. I do love your language. It is rather fun.
Hi, Jeshua.
It's about time.
I have lots of questions, but there's one.
Do you?
I guess they do come up from time to time, and then they do seem to get answered. But it's so nice to have you here because it's quicker this way, it seems.
Beloved friend, I am always here. It is you that goes away.
Fair enough. The last time I talked to you on the telephone, and we
Don't
used
tell anybody.
Okay. And I happened to mention that I was writing something, and I was
to mention.
It was a very important thing that came up. And you had I said that I was writing something, and I was feeling doubts that it was very important, and that my feeling was, why bother when obviously there are more important things being written, and who knows who might read it. So you became very you said very clearly in a very assertive voice that everything that people do, that this was soul work. In other words, this was a piece of art or whatever, and it was soul work, and that it was very important to finish it. And as I remember, the one reason it was important was that you didn't want to have to come back and finish it at another time, perhaps. And also that it didn't matter if anyone read it or not. So I continued and finished some stories, expecting in some way that at the end of it I would feel, excited, or that I had created something, special, whatever. Well, I've had a few little feelings like that. But at the same time...
Heaven forbid that they should grow into large feelings.
Well, I haven't heard... That's my next question, actually. When one is... Obviously, doubts come up because one feels that the ego is speaking when one is writing, as opposed to the deeper sense of spirit. I guess my feeling has been that if it were deep spirit, I would have an incredible joy of completion. And obviously I'm looking for a way. I don't want to just write from an ego place. I want to write what's true. And I want to write with the feeling that in a sense something is coming through me, which does happen, at times. But is there a way for me to, and others, people who write or create, whatever, to be more in touch with allowing that to happen? I mean, I know there's meditation and etc., but is there some other way? Something that I haven't been able to open up in myself?
For you, there is no hope. Might as well throw in the towel. Does someone have some what you call hemlock to give to this one? I'll make sure that my Father erases your name out of the book of life. After all, you're certainly not capable of bringing through anything remotely resembling spirit or love. You scourge upon the earth.
You said that whatever I asked for, I would receive. You said that quite a few times. And I've been asking, and I have been receiving lots of things. I don't want to say that, that's not what I'm saying. I really do feel wonderful, basically, and blessed. It's this one little thing.
It's always something, one thing after another. And that way, beloved friend, you can keep the feeling little, a feeling of reality and of truth. Beloved friend, it is soul work. And the greatest soul work, the content of soul work, regardless of the form, is self-love. Complete self-acceptance. The recognition that only the truth is true. that your gift, your desire, to take a blank piece of paper and form words as symbols of that which point to a reality beyond themselves, beyond the power of the mind to ever truly comprehend it intellectually, that which sets the heart soaring, that which touches the hardness of the mind, that which brings a lesson to remember love. That gift, some would call it, you have cultivated over a multitude of lifetimes out of a huge, huge, compassionate heart. That so loves this earth and every being who walks upon it, flies above it, crawls upon it, or swims in its waters, that if you could, you would stretch even that physical body wide enough to give them all a home to live in. You, O compassionate one, have cultivated that gift, and you can only mock yourself by not letting it be utilized to express the good, the holy, and the beautiful that you know, and we both know that you know, is the truth of your being. You are yet struggling with the fear of what would transpire if you fully accepted that only the truth can be true. And you withdrew the value you have placed upon your belief that you must remain little and small within yourself in order to be accepted by the world. That is the creation of the tension and the struggle. And I'll let you in on a little secret. The opinion of the world, which is a collection of insane thoughts, does not hold very much merit. But the truth that you know to be true holds all merit. Therefore, write as though your life depended on it. And life will more and more inform the form of your stories and your sharings, so that the words which are symbols of ideas will more and more reflect the reality that you know perfectly well is true. The only question here is, when will you decide to live it? By releasing the perception that you must dim your light in order not to offend the insane. Right, beloved friend. Dance, beloved friend. Ride upon your horses, beloved friend. And enjoy the hell out of all of it. Do not fear your passion. Do not fear your aliveness. Show it forth to the world. Stop hiding your light under a bushel. Become a little, what you call crazy in the head. As though the opinions of the world meant nothing. Let yourself get a little giddy, lightheaded. Let the body dance. Go and find a waterfall. Take off the clothes and dance and sing in the waterfall. You know you love those things. And then go back and sit and look at that blank piece of paper and recognize that Christ is looking at that paper. And Christ loves to create forms that reflect the good, the holy, and the beautiful. Not in order to be approved of, but out of the sheer delight of extending the reality of God's love. Christ, you see, is that energy which will create the good, the holy, and the beautiful simply for Christ's delight. And you and how many others in this room block that from occurring because they hold the thought that perhaps no one will notice. You can notice. And when you notice it fully, listen well, when you step into the willingness to create the good, the holy, and the beautiful for yourself, not giving, what is this word, a hoot, whether anybody else on the planet ever knows about it, you'll be tapping into the supreme secret. That there's no way in reality that it cannot be noticed, because all minds are joined. And when you write and extend your love and your beauty and thoroughly enjoy it, it is impossible for other minds to be unaffected. Therefore, the sage transforms the world without ever leaving his room. Except perhaps to ride the horse. Or to what you call the making love, the dancing. In other words, beloved friend, enough is enough. You have to pardon the levity here. We've known each other a very long time. Are you willing to love yourself so much that you give up expending energy, creating the perception of doubt in order to keep your light small out of fear of what someone else might think?
Great question.
It is the only question. You know the answer. It's just a question of when you will answer it. By saying, screw the small stuff. That's one way to say it.
I do need to hear it. I did need to hear it tonight. So I thank you.
I will send you a bill later. Rest assured, beloved friend, you just never know who's going to show up to help form the words on the page.
Exactly. And that was my next question.
Oh.
Just come and be there with me. Just looking over one shoulder would be nice.
I'll see if I can have it scheduled into my itinerary.
Busy schedule. Thank you, Jeshua. I do love you very much.
I know that, beloved friend. When will you be willing to accept how deeply I love you?
Soon. Now.
Very good idea.
Thank you.
You thought you could escape me by skipping into another time frame or two.
Not on your life.
Right.
Jeshua, my heart is pounding. And I guess I need to hear from you too. And I want to know what blocks me from using my artistic ability to capture you.
Beloved friend, if you seek to capture me, I will prevent you from using it. If you allow that communication to transpire and then express it, you know that you will have created something that can be seen by others. And it triggers an old fear by which someone in the world can point and say, she's one of them. I believe she's part of that Essene community where this Savior of the world came from that we just got rid of. Fear not persecution this time around. Therefore, beloved friend, if you would well entertain it, I would be most pleased to, shall we say, sneak in through the corners of your awareness in order to, how shall we say this, transport an image into your awareness that will stay with you and can be easily translated through the artistic medium. If it's okay with you, it's okay with me. If it's okay with you, you can put it in your closet.
I don't think so.
Indeed. Beloved friend, it is just an old fear. Where once you felt you needed to conceal a certain relationship so that you weren't marked.
I too have been with you many times.
Indeed. Rest assured, in this time frame, there's no secret police, so to speak, seeking you out. And persecution will not occur.
Thank you. Please be with me in that art room.
Very well.
Well, you have a lot of places to go.
When one knows they are thoroughly unlimited, there is no place they cannot be. And when one has mastered fear, there is no place one would not want to be. Just something to consider. I will be with you. So, we will entertain one more question.
Better be a good one. Jeshua, I've been sitting here asking...
No, I changed my mind.
I've had a lot of questions and I've narrowed it down to one. In A Course in Miracles, what is meant by the Father will take the final step?
That's a very good question. I don't know where that one came from. Never let anyone tell you that A Course in Miracles is purely a rational spirituality. There is much of mystery within it, much of poetry, much of mysticism. It must be this way because, again, words, no matter how they are structured, are symbols of symbols, which are hopefully effective reflections of reality. And no symbol or word or idea can comprehend, wrap itself around reality. When I shared the thought with Helen that the Father will take the final step. There were many levels of meaning contained, hidden, veiled within that statement. Why? Remember always that A Course in Miracles was given within the context of the students involved. Therefore, teaching is an art and not a science. When to nudge, when not to nudge, when to lay it on the line, when to be a little sneaky. I could not say to Helen at that time that as correction comes to the depth of the mind, there is a point when the self one thought one was is revealed to be only God. The entire language of the Course then is based on a fundamental duality between creator and created, spirit, matter. This was a language that she could understand and accept without it causing fear. Therefore, to say the Father will take the final step allowed her to continue the process, and by the way, we would say here that she was a bit of a stickler. It was like walking on what you call cosmic eggshells to make sure that I did not upset her. Now, when I said the Father will take the final step for you, that allowed her not to be fearful, for she had not yet truly, completely healed her own Armageddon over the form of the universal curriculum called Christianity that she experienced early in this life. It kept in place within her mind the perspective that there is an interminable gulf between creator and created. At the same time, I simply told her the truth. Of course the Father will take the final step for you. The final step is the complete realization that there is only God. That the one doing the stepping is the one toward whom you wish to step. Just something to consider now. Grace comes from yourself. For I and my Father are one. You cannot tell where the Son begins and the Father ends. Who can find such a boundary? In truth, it does not exist. We speak this way only because teaching is an art, and communication without the creation of fear is always the goal. Helen could accept that statement. Had I said to her, look, it's very simple. You think you're something you're not, and there's only God. Wake up. There would be no Course in Miracles. And for you too, the Father will take the final step. Merely love yourself, and illusions will dissolve from the mind, from the emotions, from the body. Gently, lovingly, following a path that you have set amidst the stars. The end of the journey is certain. For the one you walk toward is doing the walking. And that one knows the way. Through you. Indeed. Thank you, sweet and benevolent soul. For your light is a blessing to all who know you. Time to accept it. When next you see one of your friends, just go, I know, I'm a blessing.
Well, there's a lot of them here, so they can help me practice what you just said.
Indeed. So, since the final step is the final step, that's a good place to end. How are you all doing?
Right.
Has this evening been worth your while?
Yes.
Well, I hope so. You're the one that created it. If it is not worth it, then you've wasted your time. So, please understand that I am not within this body, just as you are not within yours. The body emerges out of your own awareness. It is within you. I cannot be localized here as opposed to there. I did that once and found it quite unfulfilling. It is called a body. I love you. Many of you do not yet truly know how deep that love is. You've only begun to touch upon the enormity and the depth of the love that I feel for you. Because that love is the love of the Father who calls himself back to himself in and as you. If you try to comprehend the vastness of your physical universe, and then compare that to the depth and width of my love for you, it is like taking a grain of sand from the beaches of your world and say, here, this is all the sand in the world. I love you so much that I can't even imagine wanting to be anywhere where you are not. And I will never cease in giving you my strength until yours is as certain as mine. I know who you are, and you can't fool me. Be you therefore the light that you are by choosing to teach only love, by choosing to use time constructively to become the master of the only thing that exists, the mind. And you are, wherever you are, the light that lights this world while it lasts. What else could you possibly find that would be better to do? You need go nowhere to redeem this world. Merely turn each moment over and ask, what would you have me do? Oh, call Mary. Okay. Ride a horse. Okay. Have some ice cream. Okay. Thank you. And when I say thank you to you, I mean it. It takes great courage to choose the unique form of attention called incarnation into this, the most insane dimension of creation that exists, in order to translate it into that which reflects reality. That is why you come. Look no further to find your purpose. You know perfectly well what it is. So get on with it. And never think you are alone. This may be horrific to some. There is no such thing as privacy. And when next you're doing that which is called the making of love, know that the whole universe is watching. And some beings are saying, you know, a body wasn't so bad. So, go you therefore into your evening, but do this one little thing, just for the fun of it. When you rest your head upon your pillow, let your last thought be this: it is true. I and my Father are one, and now would Christ sleep. Peace be unto you always, precious and holy and innocent and guiltless child of God, who is but love. Amen.